Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of RogueSpirit Reviews. And today I wanted to do my theory and predictions on God of War Ragnarok. Since I am so excited for God of War Ragnarok and I love the God of War franchise so much, I thought, why not do a God of War Ragnarok prediction video? Now, take these all with a grain of salt, and no, I am no expert when it comes to Norse mythology. These are just my own predictions, so with that out of the way, let's get right into it. We all know that God of War Ragnarok will take place 3 years after the events of the 2018 game, and we all saw that Thor will indeed be confronting Kratos and Atreus thanks to the cliffhanger ending from the first game. I predict that God of War Ragnarok will start right where the first game left off, and like many God of War games, Ragnarok will continue its tradition of having an epic, bloody, gory, brutal boss fight with the god right at the start of the game, and who better than Thor? I predict that we will start the game fighting against Thor only to maybe lose and somehow escape, perhaps thanks to the events of Fimbulwinter taking place as a sign of the end times. For those of you who don't know, Fimbulwinter is a very cruel and harsh winter which will lead to Ragnarok and the end of the world itself. Fimbulwinter is said to last about 3 years with non-stop snow and very cold, harsh weather with no summertime, no fall, or spring in between. And what do you know? God of War Ragnarok's story will start 3 years exactly after the first game, and I predict that thanks to Fimbulwinter taking place, perhaps during Kratos' fight against Thor, it will help Kratos and Atreus both escape Thor, and there will be a 3-year time skip where Atreus is older and is still wrapping his head around the events that have occurred from the first game. I also predict that Thors Stepson named Ullr, who will act as opposite to Kratos' son Atreus, will somehow help Thor in battle, and Ullr is apparently an archer himself, so I believe that Kratos and Atreus will have to fight for their lives in the upcoming sequel, as Thor will perhaps not be alone and will be hunting down Kratos and Atreus ferociously with his stepson. New Loki Abilities. Now that Atreus knows he is Loki, I believe he will learn many new abilities that match his trickster type personality. In Norse mythology, we all know that Loki is the only one with the ability to transform in Midgard. He can transform himself into other people, even into the opposite sex. Loki can even transform into other animals, so I predict that somehow we will be able to use and upgrade these abilities if Santa Monica Studios will implement these abilities for us to use in the game, and I predict that these abilities will aid Kratos and Atreus on their adventure to stop Ragnarok from happening. Another theory and prediction I have is that Kratos will die, either during the middle of the game or at the end of the game. Or maybe the beginning. Who knows? We all know that the Ghost of Sparta is a man who has suffered a lot in life. He has lost everyone close to him and he has buried a lot of his own family members. I can sympathize with his anger and loss, and basically where I'm going with this is that I predict Kratos' suffering is far from over here. At the end of the 2018 reboot, we saw that just right before the end of the game, delivering the ashes of Atreus' mother, who was named Faye, or La Faye if you go by her giant given name, at the peak of the highest mountain in Jotunheim, where the ancient race of Jotnar, who were giants and once roamed and lived and existed in the world. The events that took place during Kratos and his son's journey have already been carved and sketched on the walls inside of the mountain, showing the players that perhaps Faye knew more than she let on about and hid some of her own darker secrets from Kratos himself. Just as Atreus runs off to finally deliver his mother's ashes at the peak of the mountaintop, Kratos sees another image of Atreus holding his dead corpse, revealing that either Kratos will die by Atreus' hand, or perhaps will suffer fate due to Atreus' mistake, or perhaps protecting Atreus from harm. It's hard to tell, but I predict that Atreus will make a poor choice, leading to the death of the Ghost of Sparta. After all, a son killing his own father is a reoccurring theme in the God of War series, and that's no brainer here. Since Atreus is the twisted mischief maker and most of Loki's accomplishments end in his own suffering, in which most cases it's not Loki who usually pays the price, his own suffering and burden is instead passed on to others, which in God of War's case, Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta himself. Perhaps Kratos will suffer from the choices that Atreus will make, and as Atreus is now older and knows that he is a half god, half giant, and half human, perhaps in the next game we will see that their bond as father and son will be heavily scarred as Kratos tries to guide Atreus in his own way, which he believes to be the correct path, and Atreus might rebelliate and disagree with him, causing both of their relationship to suffer. I predict that Atreus will make some heavy choices in the game and its sequel, which will cause Kratos to deal with the burden of his choices, and I'm excited to see how this relationship will evolve throughout the game. And I think God of War Ragnarok will perhaps tell one of the deepest and darkest stories in the God of War series of games, and perhaps the gods may shine their light on Kratos as he may just be freed from his memories and nightmares and suffering which torment him daily. So from my understanding, Freya is the goddess of love, lust, and celebrations, and is known to be the queen of all of the Valkyrie. And due to the events which occurred from the first game, you know Kratos killing her son Baldur, the god of light, we all know she is very upset about that and angry with Kratos and Atreus as she feels that the ghost of Sparta has ruined her hopes of living, as she cannot do so without her son. It seems that the cycle of revenge is a reoccurring theme in the God of War series. You know that saying, 2 wrongs don't make a right? Well, it seems that now Freya is the one who is possessed by the need to avenge the death of her own son. I predict that we will face Freya many times in God of War Ragnarok, and I predict that she will transform into her ultimate Valkyrie form, and if this is true, I believe Santa Monica Studio should go all out with this one. I also predict that Freya will realize that what she is doing is wrong and that perhaps in a last attempt she may try to aid Kratos and Atreus to help defeat the gods. But again, who knows what direction the story will take as the game isn't out yet and we don't know much about the story of God of War Ragnarok besides the basics. But either way, I'm excited to see how Santa Monica Studios will handle her boss fights in the upcoming game.
Because I will never forgive.
Hey guys, just real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far, and subscribe for more video gaming content and share this video as well. And yeah, let's continue on with the video. The son of Odin himself and the Aesir god of war, which governs law, and Thor's half-brother, who used his godly powers to better the world and found the means to freely travel between realms. I predict that perhaps Tyr will aid Kratos and Atreus near the start of the game, as we both know that Kratos and Atreus have achieved their goals of climbing to the top of the highest mountain of the 9 realms where the giants lay and spread their mom's ashes. Now we have Kratos and his son Atreus trying to survive Thor's wrath and are on the defensive and trying to escape with their lives. I believe that Tyr, the Norse god of war, will help Kratos and Atreus in battle and will help them escape, but I do predict that Tyr will perhaps sacrifice himself and hold Thor back in order to allow Kratos and Atreus to both escape unharmed. Or another theory I have is that Thor will capture Kratos and Tyr again and Atreus and will present them to Odin as a gift, and Odin will imprison Kratos and torture him, and Atreus will be held captive so that Loki will never come into existence in the first place. Predictions aside, I can't wait to find out.
This is incredible!
All 9 of the realms will play a key role in making Ragnarok happen, or at least will play a major key role in the story while traveling inside of the 9 realms. Y'all know what I mean. We know that Odin has stopped all access to all 9 of the realms in order to prevent certain threats like beasts and monsters from accessing them, and in the first game we only got to travel to 5 out of the 9 realms thanks to the bridge of Bifrost inside of the Yggdrasil world tree. And it is confirmed by Santa Monica Studios that in the sequel we will be able to explore all 9 of the realms including Asgard, and I think that the plot will focus heavily on Ragnarok as we explore all of the 9 realms, and I believe we will finally have an answer as to why Odin has sealed off the 9 realms and prevented access to them. It will be very interesting to return to the previous locations from the previous game as well. Exploring Midgard during the prophesized Fimbulwinter snowstorm will be very interesting, as we can see in this trailer. Kratos is using wolves to pull him and Atreus across the ice, which was a sea of water in the last game, and I can't wait to explore all of the previously unexplored locked realms. I also believe we may see the conclusion of the eon-long lasting war with the Dark Elves versus the Light Elves over obtaining the control of the light of Alfheim, which is set to help one traverse the realm thanks to Tyr's temple. I predict that perhaps the 9 realms and Odin himself will play a big major key role in the plot of Ragnarok, and maybe a key role in making Ragnarok actually happen during the events of the game. The world serpent, Jogmundur, and the Fenrir wolf will help Kratos during the end of the Norse times during Ragnarok. So according to Norse mythology, during the end of times, it is predicted that the world serpent will rise out of the depths of the ocean and poison all of the waters in the whole world, and all living things which inhabit the waters will die from intoxication. It also predicts that the 2 sons of Fenrir, named Skoll and Hati, will chase both the moon and sun until finally the sun and moon are both swallowed whole, and Fenrir, who was captured by Odin himself, as Odin himself foresaw a prophecy that the son of Loki and Angara would spew trouble for the gods themselves, and ordered the capture of Jogmundur and its sister Hel, including Fenrir himself. I have a feeling that we will indeed be witnessing the end of the Norse days if the title of the game isn't clear enough. I also believe that the World Serpent, Jormungandr, and the Fenrir Wolf will play a major key role in aiding Kratos and helping him and Atreus survive the events of Ragnarok itself, as well as put an end to Odin and Thor and the rest of the gods. Going back to Norse mythology here real quick, the Fenrir Wolf and the World Serpent are both children of Loki and Angara, who is named Angerboda in the new game, whom we get a glimpse of in the trailer, and she looks young here, but still it makes sense since Atreus himself is still growing up and is still quite young himself, and she is known to eventually become the wife of Loki. Though this theory is questionable, as we know that in the first game it sort of explains that the serpent has been sent back in time to the past thanks to a battle with Thor from the future using a time shift ability, and Jormungandr doesn't seem to recognize Atreus as his father when they first meet, but perhaps because Atreus has yet to undergo his transformation into becoming Loki, the god of mischief. At least that's what I believe anyways. And plus, Santa Monica Studios is known for handling mythology in their own way in their own games, and since the World Serpent already exists, it would kinda disprove that theory. But while it's hard to say if eventually it will be revealed that both the World Serpent and Fenrir are indeed the children of both Loki and Angerboda, but I believe they will become loyal to Atreus and aid him and his father to Kratos during the events of Ragnarok itself, and Angerboda will play a huge key role in this. Also during the events of Ragnarok, I predict that we will see the end of the world serpent Jormungandr himself, and he will be slain by the gods, perhaps by Thor or Odin, as, inserting spoiler alert, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So, the corpse of the world serpent is revealed in the cover art of Ragnarok.
10 years, Athena. I have faithfully served the gods for 10 years. When will you relieve me of this nightmare?
Athena will be the main antagonist and final villain of this God of War trilogy. Now, this theory and prediction may be a bit out there, but I have my reasons to believe this theory, plus I think this conclusion would be a perfect ending, especially if Ragnarok is the end of Kratos' journey and story. Kratos and his relationship with his sister Athena has always been a bumpy one. She is after all the main reason that Kratos was able to best Ares and become the God of War, whom we all know and love today. Once Kratos became hell-bent on killing Zeus in order to seek revenge against him after being betrayed by him in God of War 2, and knowing that the gods of Olympus will never relieve him of the torment and awful memories of killing his own family thanks to Ares possessing Kratos and blinding him with rage in order to transform Kratos into the ultimate beast and warrior, the ghost of Sparta decides enough is enough, and that if the gods won't give him peace, then he shall end them all and seek revenge. Because of this, Athena and Kratos' relationship becomes very complicated, and Kratos himself accidentally kills Athena by stabbing her with the sword of Olympus after Athena runs in front of Zeus right before Kratos can perform the ultimate killing move in order to save her father's life at the end of God of War 2, all in hopes of ending the cycle of father killing son. Zeus himself sought revenge against his own father Kronos, the most powerful titan of them all. And look what that brought him. But fast forward to its sequel, God of War 3, we see that Athena's spirit lives on and that she has transcended and evolved into an astral form which is beyond humans and gods themselves and continues to live on as a spirit that can never die. The plot thickens, however, as at the end of God of War 3 we finally realize Athena's true goals and intentions: to become the only god and queen of Olympus itself, and free humanity from the pathetic gods that ruled over them. In order to accomplish this goal, she needed Pandora's box. Yes, Pandora's box from the first God of War. However, her plan was ruined by Kratos thanks to him opening up the box and releasing its contents and powers stored inside it. Athena was after the power of hope, and once she realized that the power of hope has left Pandora's box, she realized that Kratos has adopted this power within himself, along with his sorrow and anger, which gave him the power to stand up against the gods of Olympus themselves. At the end of God of War 3, Kratos realized that he must harm and kill himself in order to free the power of hope inside him and give it back to whatever is left of humanity, instead of choosing to become Athena's puppet and be yet again used by a god for their own selfish intentions. Athena eventually removes the Blade of Olympus out of Kratos' corpse and vanishes, leaving Kratos to die in peace. Now, we don't know much about how Kratos survives, except from the cliffhanger ending where we see a trail of Kratos' blood and Kratos himself nowhere to be seen, implying that he has survived somehow or refused to die and give up. Fast forward to God of War 2018 and we see that Kratos must again accept who he really is: a killing machine, a beast. He must again become the angered ghost of Sparta and God of War and use his anger and rage to protect Atreus from Baldur and again tie himself to his curse and torment. He must once again wield the cursed power of the Blades of Chaos, which somehow always find their way back to Kratos to remind him of his sins from long ago. As Kratos heads back home to retrieve the cursed blades, guess who we see again? That's right, Athena herself. And she is still in her astral form, and we see her continuing to mock him and even dismisses him as a father, instead calling him a monster, to which Kratos responds, "I am your monster, no longer." Yeah, that was my Kratos impression. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, I love that part. So this shows that Athena is still bound to Kratos against Kratos' own wishes. And I believe that we still haven't seen the end of her, and perhaps she has her own plans and agenda and hasn't given up on trying to torment the ghost of Sparta himself just yet. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that it may look like Cory Barlog and the team over at Santa Monica Studios just tossed her in for fan service, but I think this is all very intentional. I believe and predict that Athena will be the main villain of this trilogy, and her plan for the world will be revealed soon enough. I don't think we have seen the end of Athena, and it kind of adds up as this is still a very personal story and tale about Kratos himself, and who better to tie up Kratos' story with Athena being the final and main antagonist and opposite of the ghost of Sparta himself. Well, these are all the predictions that I was able to come up with. Again, take all of these as just theories and predictions and with a grain of salt, as these are just my opinions. Let me know what you guys think and tell me if you agree or not, and let me know what your predictions are for God of War Ragnarok down in the comment section down below. I can't wait to see what Santa Monica Studios is cooking up for us next, and I am so very excited that I have goosebumps all over my skin right now. Thank you for watching, guys, and if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much, and I truly hope you guys enjoyed my prediction and theories on God of War Ragnarok. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more video gaming content, and share this video as well, and as always, I will catch you guys later. Stay safe and Happy New Year's to everyone. God bless you all, and may you all have a successful year in 2022. Much love, guys. You know, I'm going to go replay God of War 2018. I just love that game. So if I don't make a video for a while, it's because I'm enjoying my time replaying this fantastic game. I just love all of these God of War games. I'm like an addicted junkie when it comes to God of War. I just need my next hit. Well, peace out, guys, and thanks again for watching, and much love from your boy, RogueSpirit Reviews. Peace out.
Well, some of them.